a secret location in the heart of India's tribal belt. Here in this remote district of Orissa State in eastern India, several Adivasi tribes have now formed their own formidable force. The Chasi Mulia Adivasi Sangh, or Tribal Land Movement. 5,000 strong and armed with traditional weapons, the Adivasis say they are fighting for human rights and collective tribal ownership of their ancestral lands. They claim they are caught between the two fires of an escalating Maoist Naxalite insurgency and the Indian government's paramilitary backlash. And in recent months, the Chasi Mulia Sangh has gone on the offensive, evicting hundreds of non-tribal families from ancestral land they claim was stolen, and driving out alleged illegal liquor sellers and moneylenders. The Chasi Mulia Adivasi Sangh is led by 35-year-old Nachika Linga, a former bonded farm labourer, once jailed for his political activities.
देखंतु पुलिस हो बा नक्सल आम बड़िया मनीष किंतु गोटे जिनिस से दूध जंत्र अच्छी आणिक आमको मारुचन से अन्या आमर पाखे दूध हस्तर मान हस्तर अच्छी कि आज गोटे आमर हस्तर अच्छी पूर्वपूर्ण दीर्घ दीर्घकर आमर हूँ आम दोनों दरिकी आम बंचीचु ताई आम माने बंचिक पहाड़ जंगल गले आसीचु बंचिक आसचु आमर हूँ 100 मसीहा बहुत दीर्घ दिन एटा हूँ इतिहास मूलटू आम जन्म ही हेलु कौन सी सरकार तरफर आज रास्ता घाट ना आज पीवा पानी ना आमको आज पाठ पढ़ापी ना से आज ये साहूकार माने आज मद पियाईकरी ये साहूकार माने आज जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मान होकरी आज लुंटन कर गवर्नमेंट टंका जहाँ एबे 60 वर्ष है आज लोक आज कौन सी क्षेत्र में सरकार तरफ पाई ना पाइले हाथ चढ़ाई करके नेउचंती।
Thousands of tribals say their land has been stolen. 38-year-old Ganguly Taddy claims he lost 5 acres.
कहीं गोर आसिक मत पड़े एग्निटी प्राटे होकर एग्निटी प्राटे मिसिकी आमर ये दुख लोकर गरीब लोकर गोर मैंने पड़ाइले आम अबिकी से आम ब्लॉक सारे केटकी अच्छी जमीटू आम आंदोलन करी सब पार्ले एका आम एटा टिके शांति हेब नहले शांति हेब ना आम।
Their verdant mineral-rich land in and around the district of Koraput, some 550 kilometers southwest of the Orissa State capital, Bhubaneswar, is under threat from rapacious mining companies and lower caste Hindu carpetbaggers, claim Adivasis. Tribal Genua warriors, named in honour of a legendary tribal hero who was hung for killing a wicked landlord, accused Dilip Kumar's family of being illegal liquor traders and moneylenders and smashed up their home. Dilip, a member of India's untouchable Harijan or Dalit caste, declined to speak about the attack, but said, Throughout the tribal areas, Adivasis and Dalits, both considered outsiders by mainstream Hindu society, are locked in a bitter struggle for resources and land. Malati Kura, a Dalit smallholder, says she was evicted by Adivasi tribal militants.
धान पचाइबाटा नहीं गले सांग माने नहीं गले धान पचाइबा बिल जमीन ए पाखे कामटा अच्छी ए वर्षे करी नहीं सब गले टिके टिके करी खाइथिलु ए वर्षे नहीं।
Just a kilometre away is the tribal hamlet of Patamanda, from where the attackers allegedly came. Its timeless rhythm belies the recent wave of violent unrest. Adivasis claim they are happy to live in peace with Dalit neighbours, but not with carpetbaggers and illegal alcohol brewers.
ये पालूर विषय आज्ञा आउ जड़े मद रांति लगे केते संग भाई निसंग लोक चाषी मूल्य संग कहले एमती कम करना अत्याचार करना भूल करना कहीं एमती होती केते कहले बुझले ना से सकाशे
Nari Madinga says he lost 5 acres of land to the Sahukars, a local caste of moneylenders and landlords. But the Chasi Mulia Adivasi Sangh has now returned the land to him.
तापरे जमी आंदोलन करू करू सब लोक पाइलारू समस्ते एकजुट काम करी खुशी रे चाष करी खाऊ एटा निजर आमे जन्म हेलाटो आज्ञा आमे धरी करी बुलिबू आमे जंगल आमर जंगल रो एरियार लोक आमे जीवन रे छाड़बू ना मले भी धरी करी एका भूलबू
This area of southwestern Orissa is at the centre of the so-called Red Belt, 1,000 kilometres of remote territory that arches through 5 Indian states. Maoist guerrillas called Naxalites operate throughout the region. They take their name from the town of Naxalbari in West Bengal, scene of a famous armed workers' rebellion in 1967. An estimated 25,000 insurgents, active in nearly a third of India's 600 administrative districts, regularly ambush police patrols and attack railway stations, trains and government armories. Last year, 450 civilians and 140 security personnel were killed in the fighting. Meantime, government security forces are accused of heavy-handed tactics against the civilian population in their counter-insurgency operations.
We are not suppressing anybody and we are not torturing anybody. We are confident about that. No any torturing and suppressing activities we are doing from our side.
But how can you tell the difference between a tribal and a Naxalite?
No, it's very hard. It's very hard to know that and to differentiate that. But it's all depends on intelligence basis.
Today in India, there are almost 70 million people belonging to the so-called scheduled tribes or Adivasis, deriving from the Hindi word Adi, meaning of earliest times. Despite widespread proselytizing by Hindus and Christians alike, the majority of Adivasis still believe in the animist spirit gods of their ancestors. In the Adivasi belief system, there is no concept of individual ownership of the land. For them, the land and forests are sacred and belong to all members of the community. Now, appropriation of tribal land for industrial lemongrass plantations is further threatening local food security, claim Adivasi. Male plantation labourers are paid just over $1 a day, women workers even less.
ନାଇଁ ଆଜ୍ଞା ନାଇଁ ନିଜେ ନାଇଁ ଆମର ବାପାଟା ନାଇଁ ଆମର ଆମଟା ନାଇଁ କିଛି ନାଇଁ
ଏବେ ଲିମ୍ବୁ ଗ୍ରାସର ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟେସନରେ ଲୋକଙ୍କର କ'ଣ ମାନେ ସେଠି କାମ ଦେଉଛି ଲୋକ ସେଠି ବଞ୍ଚୁଛନ୍ତି ଲିମ୍ବୁ ଗ୍ରାସରେ ଯେଉଁ ଲିମ୍ବୁ ଗ୍ରାସର ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟେସନରେ ସେଟା ସେ ମାଣ୍ଡିଆ ନା କି ସୁଆ ନା କି ଦାନ ହେଉଛି ଆମେ ଅମ୍ବଳ ଯଦି ହେବ ଲୋକ ସମସ୍ତ ବଞ୍ଚିବା ଏ କମ୍ପାନୀ ଯେଉଁ ପ୍ଲାଣ୍ଟେସନ କରିକି ଲିମ୍ବୁ ଗ୍ରାସରେ କୌଣସି ଲୋକ ବଞ୍ଚନ୍ତି ନାହିଁ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଆମେ ବିରୋଧ କରୁଛୁ ସେଟା ଚାଷୀ ପାଖରେ ଯଦି ରହିବ ସେଟା ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ଚାଷ ମାନେ ଯଦି ହେବ ଲୋକ ସମସ୍ତ ବଞ୍ଚିବେ.
Several lemongrass plantations run by businessmen from neighbouring Andhra Pradesh state have been looted and burned in retaliation. But with cheap tribal labour and high prices for the distilled oil, which is used in medicine, food and insecticide, the lemongrass business continues nevertheless to attract outside investors.
सब लोग करले हम करला आज्ञा आम कौन करबा एटी सब लोग लेमन ग्रास करला आम एटी करले तांके खाइबा पई बोले पैसा तेन को मिलची आ खाइबा पई गुट दिन भात आम दउची पैसा बेसी मिलछ ना मंडिया दाना ले एति पैसा मिलबो नै ना
से सागर मन डाकुचे डाकला कामा का सब बोल कर कहला एमती पाए का पैसा देब बोल कर कहला हमको पाइट काइले आइबो एमती पाए का दिन को साटे पाउछु 8 दिन हे अछि केते पैसा हेबो देबो की.
Illicit alcohol brewing and selling is the catalyst for much of the conflict between Adivasis and Dalits. Organic homebrew made from forest fruits and raw jaggery sugar has its role in tribal society. But drinking is only sanctioned on ceremonial occasions. It takes a week to brew traditional Adivasi alcohol, unlike this method of hyper-fermentation, which uses ammonia to make 24 litres of often lethal moonshine in only 2 hours. Earlier this year in West Bengal, 170 villagers died after drinking this type of wheat. Adivasi activists say the Dalit bootleggers are luring their people into a vicious cycle of alcoholism and debt, with tribal land being sold cheaply to pay off loans and buy yet more booze. Hundreds of rural Dalit families who have been attacked and evicted have fled to the district capital of Koraput. These families found refuge in an old government college.
सर आम घटनाटा बोले आम खाई बसलु आम सेमती किसी जानू से हठात गोटे 5,000 लोक ग्रुप होकर आसिले ठेंगा बाड़ी जार टांगिया फांगिया कुराड़ी फुराड़ी धरिक आसिले लोक समस्ते किए तो खाई किए काम को जाते किए पिला स्कूल जाते समस्ते अचानक होते गाँ चारिआडे समस्ते घेराव करके आम घर सब आक्रमण कले से
खेदलारू आमे सब लोक बाहर हेलारू आमे आमको कहीं मारुछ बोलारू अंडरा पिला मानकु जीवन रे मारी देबू बोलिक एमती कहले कहलारू माइखिणा मान शाढ़ी में बोले घर भितर जे थिले से माने माइखिणा मान शाढ़ी पिंधि करी से माने बण धरले सेमती होकर गले गलारू राति भितर पिला पुली सबको आ बेक काटी काटी करी फिंगी देबू बोलिक एमती कहले कहलारू से डर को समस्त लोक आमर सबू जाक जिनस पत्र घर सबू जाक संपत्ति बाड़ी सबू छाड़ी दे पळाइलु.
The refugee Dalit families denied they were illegal liquor sellers.
सेटा माने मिछ कथा से माने जमी द्वारा का से माने सेंती करूछंती जमी तापरे थाउ न थाउ घर बल्ला संसार को जिनस पत्र तो किणी रही हेबो तापरे आमे डम जाति भुकरे रहिबू तापरे भुकरे ससरे रही करी मध्ये आमे जिनस किणवा पई आमे सकू आमे कोन भोकरा थाई मिस आमे किनी पारबू हमर जिनिस पत्र से माने देखिदेले तापरे जमी को देखिदेले आंकु माने ए बहाना देखाइले बेले आका से माने जाई पारबे नाइ तो जाई पारबे।
Panic-stricken folk in neighbouring towns have now set up their own vigilante groups. One wonders what Dr. Ambedkar, great champion of India's underclasses, would have made of the conflict.
आमे जो गत दिन मानक ठारू आरंभ करे 8 रु 8 तारिख गत 8 तारिख ठारू आरंभ करे 11 डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पर्यंत आमे जो कमिटी गठन करिछु जो कमिटी गठन कराइछि आज पर्यंत तार जो दाबी देइछु दाबीटा आज पर्यंत हेई पारि नाही तेनु करी आमे आगामी दिन रे जोटा के 21 तारिख रे गोटे विराट समावेश हबार अछि जोटा के माने कोरापुट जिला पूरा बंद हेबो से भीतर चासी मूलिया संघ दीर्घकाल पर्यंत जो संघ करी नानपाटना बंधु गाँव रु आरंभ करी से आम अंचल रे मध्य व्यापी विभिन्न प्रकार अप्रीतिकर घटना घटेबाकू से आसुथिला सेथि आमे टोटाली अपोज कलु जोटा कि आदिवासी नारे आदिवासी को हत्या करा जाय से संघ को आमे केबे भी मानिबू नाही एटा पे आमे संपूर्ण विरोध कलु गत 8 तारिख रे।
Government authorities in Koraput tried to play down the crisis.
Surely this is a state of anarchy in the district of Kodaput, is it not? Right?
No, sir, it is not a state of anarchy. It is like this. The Chasi Mulia Adivasi Sangh, that is a frontal body organized by the tribals to safeguard tribal interest. Individually they may be exploited, but as a group they are trying to safeguard their own interest. Whatever the tribals are demanding, their right over their own land, that is also sanctioned by the government. That is the law. That if somebody has cheated a tribal and taken away his land, it is the responsibility of the government to see that the cheated land is again restored back to the tribals.
Nachikalinga, is there an arrest warrant out for him?
I think there has been some police cases because one man was killed in the mob. He was trying to shoot at the mob, and before he could fire, he was caught by the mob. It was a mob psychology. He got killed. And there has been cases against many people, maybe Lingais with them. So, whosoever has committed offence, he is to be punished as per law. Investigation is, police investigation is going on, and perhaps there are also some warrant of arrest against some of the leaders.
Do you see the Adivasi Sangh as a separate entity from the Naxals, or do you think they might be an arm of the Naxals?
Joining a political party and joining the Naxals are two different things. They may be believers, but more or less they are simple tribal people. They can be portrayed by anyone. So we are trying to see that our tribal people, they don't go astray. They remain in the mainstream, and they also contribute their might to the development of the state as a whole, to the district in particular, Koraput district. So from our side, we have always been trying to persuade them not to take law into their own hands.
As Orissa's Minister of Finance, Surya Patro is responsible for all land issues in the state.
We have sent one sincere junior IAS officer who is looking after those 2 blocks to restore the lands to the tribal. It is going on. I trust those who say to you that the government is not doing anything for them. It is a purely motivated, influenced by some people. But the general tribes are very happy with the government. Whatever the development what you see, that has been done by this government. Since 2000, year 2000 when Navin Patnaik came to power, he has made a lot of developments in the state, and particularly in the tribal area, we have done a lot of work.
Professor Manmath Kundu is a renowned expert on Orissan tribal culture and language. He speaks 6 Orissan tribal languages and has studied tribal communities in the United States, United Kingdom and Yemen.
Actually, lots and lots are spent on tribals officially. But how much actually reaches them, there is a big question. Maybe 1%, 2% reaches them, and 98% is just swindled, siphoned.
Do you see a future, a viable future for the tribal communities, that they could
maintain their way of life without eventually being completely thrown off the land?
Oh, they have a very bleak future, because the development is not tribal friendly, and development means here detribalization, losing their own language, culture, and if you call this development, and ultimately there will be hardly any tribal in the real sense. Nowadays, I think Naxalism is not a kind of solution. The way, because Naxalites are no longer Naxalites in the true sense of the term. Now, as we have corruption, there is a lot of corruption inside the Naxals. And many of them are just, they are not Naxals, they are thieves, some of them, yeah. It is very difficult to know who is Naxal, who is not. And ultimately, the innocent tribals become the victim.
Every year, the clash of ancient rivalries, the perennial fight of good against evil, is reenacted at the great Hindu festival of Dussehra. Tribal leaders are showered with public flattery and expensive gifts. But Nachikalinga of the Chasi Mulia Adivasi Sangh is not among them. If the ancient statecraft of killing one's enemy with kindness or Marxist Naxalism are not a kind of solution for tribal peoples, then what is? For now, India's Adivasis remain caught between two fires.